Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Let's start with Jan for a minute because I don't understand how this woman can be at times smart and stupid at the same time. I don't get it. So she plans on using Sierra's boat to get away with the baby, and she calls Sean, and I'm just like, the whole time she's like, "Oh, me, you, and your daddy, we're gonna sit there and go on a boat ride, and we're gonna be one happy family." And I'm like, I mean, granted, Jan is crazy, so it's not out the question for her to sit there and come up with a ridiculous ass fantasy like that. But she tells Sean when she calls him, she's like, "Hey, listen, come along, otherwise you'll never see the baby again." And she gets Sean by the docks. Now, she tells Sean, well, first she looks like she's having a baby, and she throws what's supposed to be the baby, and it turns out it's just a bunch of fruit. So she's like, all right, well, the baby is on the ship. Now, instead of him actually keeping his eye on her, because, she is a dangerous sociopath, he decides to run towards the boat, and of course she knocks him out. And I'm just like, and mind you, he calls Val, and he sounds like he's, going to be saying this goodbye. He's like, hey, listen, Jan escaped. I'm going after her. Just want to tell you I love you, yada, yada, yada. And so she's able to sit there and track where he's at, and she heads down to the docks um, to go, I don't know, I guess help or whatever. She sees Sean, and she sees Jan Spears. And so she gets out her phone like Jan Spears is just going to give her the time to call the cops. Next thing you know, she starts trying to hit her with the spear. They're fighting over it, and Belle gets up her hand and knocks into the water. Um, Sean wakes up. He tries to save her, and of course, there's no success at that point. I'm just sitting there looking at this whole thing like, Sean, you know what else you need to be worried about after you take care of the child? Your job. Okay? That's what you need to be worried about. You need to be worried about your job and if you're still going to have one. Um, 'Cause I don't see, I don't see this man keeping his badge after he let a dangerous sociopath just escape. I mean, each time he kept leaving the hospital, it wasn't like anyone was watching her. I mean, yeah, she had an ankle monitor, but she could have just broke out and left at any point in time. And granted, he did count on the fact that she's gonna stay because of the baby and stuff like that. She could have just waited until she gave birth, and then once she was okay, just head on out. Um, Hell, she could have headed on out any number of times that Jen kept asking for food and he kept leaving with no one there to sit there and supervise her. She could have left at any point in time. So I thought it was pretty stupid and irresponsible for him to just constantly be leaving her by herself just because she has an ankle monitor. Oh, she's not going to go anywhere. She has an ankle monitor. Next thing you know, he sees it in the trash. I'm pretty sure I remember his family saying something along the lines of, this isn't a good idea. And Hemsworth just saying, well, if she has an ankle monitor, she's going to be fine. And of course, him not treating her like she's the enemy. Some of the stuff really didn't add up with EJ blaming himself, blaming the family for Abby's death and, the misfortune and everything like that when he was sent there, just drinking the sauce mad early. And even Bella was like, yo, you need to kind of slow down on that a little bit. Like, I don't want to say it was a pity party, but it just made no sense how he just kept blaming himself and blaming the family. And, then he thought about the threat and maybe that, Clyde carried out on it, as far as, hurting his family. So he goes down there and he tells, now this is after Chad tries to strangle the life out of Clyde. And then after that was over, Rafe was like, yeah, I kind of need you to do that to scare him. Like, okay, that's a very interesting interrogation tactic. Batman style, I like it. So afterwards, EJ comes in there and he tells Chad and Rafe about the threat and he had to keep his mouth shut, otherwise, him and Orpheus that they were going to go after, his family or their family. And this is where we get into the point of it doesn't make a lot of sense, but he's doing it because he's in grief. Because Chad gets upset with him and is like, oh, you're just doing this to cover your own ass. How? What benefit does he get by covering his own ass now? I mean, he literally said, if I say anything, these guys are going to go after our family. And then he decided to do it anyway. So what benefit does he have? How is he covering his own ass? I mean, seriously, that literally makes no sense. You think if he tells now afterwards, it's going to make him look better? Like that, it makes zero sense. And I get that they're doing it to create tension and things of that nature, but it's just stupid, honestly. It's just really stupid. Now, Leo was asking Nancy a bunch of questions, as far as Clyde being arrested and everything like that. Now, of course, Nancy, the desperate ass woman that she is in denial. She's all like, oh, he's innocent and, who he bought the jewelry from is the real culprit. And after Chloe goes to visit Bella and finding about Clyde being arrested and everything like that, and of course, her sleeping with EJ talking about, oh, you're inviting yourself to a lot of trouble. And Bella's like, you really have no room to talk given your history. Like, you might want to just kind of just zip that the F up, like, for real. After that, Chloe goes down there to try to talk some sense into Nancy. Now, although I do not like the meddling, because at the end of the day, this is your parents' choice. Let them rock. Let them learn from their mistakes. Because it worked out so well with Craig to some extent. Honestly, tell you the truth, the sad thing is that it actually did. I'm not a fan of meddling, but this is one of those times where it actually did work out with Craig. And Nancy as well, but Nancy being the dingbat that she is like, oh no, he's innocent, he didn't do anything wrong. Then she does something. That, and I'm not saying all old people do it, all seniors do it or whatever, but she does something that just irritates the living life out of me. Okay, this finger pointing thing, I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of that. Like, I'm like liable to break somebody's finger if they ever actually did that to me. Just sort of like, no, and that's what I say, like, and I'm putting my foot down and this, that, and the third, and just like the whole finger thing is just irritating. And so Chloe's like, listen, you can sit there and try to do the whole, la 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 thing, but at the end of the day, he's still going to jail. And of course, Nancy's like, oh, well, you think you're some moral superior? Something along those lines, but basically, morally superior. But she explains that all that Clyde has to do is point the finger to the person who stole the jewelry, and, he can get a plea deal. I'm just looking at this whole thing, I'm like, her head has been, her brain has been on supercharge as far as making excuses for him, trying to get him out the mess that he's in, talking about, oh, Clyde's a good man and this, that, and the third, and I'm like, your brain is working overtime, okay? And unfortunately, this is not that far from reality. There are so, and granted, I know, Men has done that too to defend their trashy ass girlfriends or wives. But when a dude is really bad and they're just straight up trash and everyone can see it, and she's choosing to sit there and ignore it, and she's making up excuses for him and things of that nature, it's sad because when that dude goes down and she goes down with him, you find yourself not really caring. Like you have no sympathy for this person because people have been telling that person since day one that the dude that you got with you is trash and he will wind up taking you down with him. And that person just doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to hear anything. And when they want to go on down, you don't feel bad for them. You're just like, nah, bro, you did this to yourself. Good luck getting out of it. Orpheus is a character. Orpheus, Orpheus is a character. I love that guy, Orpheus. Um, I feel like I missed a lot of good days. When Orpheus was at like his peak of criminal mastermind, as he so put it. But when Evans told Orpheus about Jan Spears, visiting him in the prison and everything like that, Orpheus was so angry. He was. Well, I wasn't to say he was angry. He was more just like, "You're an idiot. How how was my genes actually passed on to you?" That's the look that he had on his face. Now, luckily, the password that Jan Spears stole worked, so it's not like Evans completely screwed up um his plans. And hell, if he would have told Evans sooner, then you know damn well that Evans would have screwed that up. He's pacing back and forth, waiting for Jan Spears to come. And after Orpheus is like, why would she actually come to a jail when she just stole a baby out the nursery? And you think she's gonna come to a jail to visit you? That that actually makes sense in your head. Afterwards, he pretty much kind of calms him down and is like, listen, everything's gonna work out the way it's supposed to. You just gotta sit there and follow my lead. And you don't want your son visiting you in jail. You want to sit there and for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, you want to be able to properly see your son and raise your son with me by your side. So after a good heart-to-heart talk, Evans finally calmed down and listened. Um, has Evans always just really been that rash and stupid? You know, I would like to sit there and think that they've written him a little bit more smarter. When he was on the outside causing damage and mayhem. Um, Other than the reckless, impulsive person that I saw today. It's weird because a lot of these signs are pointing towards Leo, but again, I just don't think that he did it. Um, and if he did, it might have been by accident. There's a possibility that he did it by accident. Every time he keeps hearing about, oh, well, Clyde may sit there and tell, and, the real person who killed Abby, he's always like standing there, like staring in the shadows or looking hella guilty or nervous and things of that nature. It's like the writers are really pointing to him being a killer. Now, again, I haven't really watched the show that long, but again, Leo strikes me as a lot of things, but a killer? No. But involuntary manslaughter, yeah. I mean, Leo does seem very impulsive. He seems kind of reckless and kind of stupid. Um, Dumb enough to sit there and walk around with a knife or whatever and accidentally stab her and, being panicked and just running and stuff like that. I feel like if he did, it was an accident. Because it doesn't seem like the usual. Here's the thing: this whole who killed Abby doesn't seem like a case of somebody just running around killing people. Otherwise, whoever killed Abby would have started, trying to kill somebody else. Kind of like the last, I guess, Salem slasher or whatever. Like, this person was going after a lot of different people. It wasn't just one person, was going after a bunch of different people. And bodies started just dropping left and right. But in this instance, it was just Abby. If this was a real, true, I'm going to sit there and just start killing people because of X, Y, and Z, why has nobody else gotten killed or stabbed or anything like that? So, yeah, in conclusion, I think that if, because they keep pointing towards Leah, I think if he did do it, it was an accident. But I feel like that's pretty much about it. So, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.